Thank you so much for joining me. Today is Thursday, which means it's time for Carrie Ann Conversations, Journey to Wellness. I'm very excited to have you all here today. Thank you so much for joining me. These conversations I'm doing because I'm hoping that each one of you will take something away from these conversations that could help you on your own wellness journey. So, oh, look, I got a little shaka sign. So thanks for being here. My guest today is a really cool guy, and he's been through a lot, and he's very well accomplished. And I found him on social media. I came across his TED Talk when I was going through a very, very difficult time. For all my autoimmune sisters and brothers out there, I was going through a really bad flare-up and really laid out flat. It was about the time that I had taken time off from the talk. And his TED Talk really inspired me. It's called The Cosmic Algorithm, Deciphering the Signs, and he did it in 2018. But when I watched it, I was deeply moved, and I felt connected to him through his story because he had experienced something similar and was sharing his story. And he had really interesting philosophies. And in his sharing of his own journey to wellness, I don't know, I just can only say it this way. I felt connected. He is a speaker, he is an author, and he is the head coach and head of business at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. His philosophy is really fascinating, and it focuses on all facets of life: mental, emotional, spiritual, relationships, and career. And I thought you all would love this conversation. Let's welcome
Hi,
Jim
Carrie
Curtin.
Ann.
Hi, Jim.
All right, we did it. We did
How
it.
are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
Good.
Let's
I
see
see.
if I can adjust this camera a little bit. There we go.
Yeah, that looks great. Thank you so much for being here today for a Carrie Ann Conversation. I'm very grateful to you for taking the time.
I'm so happy to be here. This is a great one. I've been watching your conversations. I saw the last one with Fran Drescher, and I was like, I can't wait to get on this conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, we talked about detoxing the home. And so I have a non-toxic candle in the background. And I know you know all about this because of your background. But I want to start from where I was introduced to you. Basically, I kind of introduced myself to you. I found you on the internet, basically, and on Instagram. And I came across your TED Talk. And I was going through a really, really difficult time. I have lupus, fibromyalgia, and Sjogren's syndrome, and I was in a really, really terrible flare-up. And I listened to your TED Talk, and you talked about that you had gone through something similar. So, and I felt immediately connected to you. So would you mind kind of starting there and telling people about your story and what your background is and how you came into this world of healing?
Mm-hmm. I love connecting with people that are going through that because I can understand it. And there was a time, many years, where I was having all these symptoms, including paralysis in my legs, and I could not figure out what it was. And there was a lesion on my spinal cord, what they called it at that time. It was inflamed and it was swelling, and we couldn't figure out what it was, and the treatments weren't working. And it was just going on at a point in time where there were no communities to connect with. I was 20 years old, and there were no communities to connect with. There was there was an Instagram where you could find, or even YouTube where you could get a TED Talk. So it was an incredible experience in the feeling you felt alone. You felt really alone. Not only were you in what I call survival mode because you don't know what's happening to you, the fear of that, right. The fear of trying to figure it out just puts you in this kind of survival mode where you shut down some of your emotions because otherwise you'd become so overwhelmed with it. But still, you get hit with bouts of fear and a little bit of panic. So that went on for me for 15 years. And finally, I was able to get out of it a little bit, to the point I still walk with a limp today. I still have some issues, but I'm no longer living in illness.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to hear that you're no longer living in dis-ease or illness and in that state. But it sounds like it was such an uphill battle for you, and probably took you to, really seek. You had to become a seeker, right, of knowledge and of wellness and of answers. What was that path like for you?
I think you're probably familiar with this too. You can always keep seeking, right? So,
Yes.
um,
I'm a seeker. I'm a
yeah,
seeker.
I'm a seeker too. At the time, I wasn't a seeker, and I just had type A parents, type A father and a type A sister who were like, "Did you go here? Did you go here? Did you go here? You have to go here." So I think I went to hospitals all around the country, and then I started to go into Europe a little bit, basically because I had a good family unit who wouldn't let me not find it out.
Oh, that's great.
But I think that once you start talking about your illness, like I'm experiencing this, especially today, everybody has a guy. Did you get that? Like I'm experiencing that. Like I got a guy for you. You got to see my guy. He cured whatever, everything from energy healing to Western medicine. Everybody always has a recommendation, and you can really choose to see those people or not. And so I said I was luckily in a position where I could say, okay, I'm just going to say yes to everybody's guy. And so I ended up seeing like 200 people, everybody from Ecuadorian shaman to grandmasters of kung fu to wasu and qigong healers. I went all over the country and the world, and from Mayo Clinic to the East Village. And so I just kept searching, and I found, I think I found a lot of answers that kind of led me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So you said you saw over 200 healers and professionals. I can relate to that so much. Like right now, I'm in the process of like doing some. I'm in the process of a Lyme disease treatment, and so I just had like oxygen IV ozone therapy, and it didn't do so well. So then my mom was like telling me this, and then I'm kind of in a state of a conundrum right now, because sometimes there's so many healers and they take you in so many different directions. It can also be confusing. I just want to know, like, from your point of view, for that moment, because I'm going through it myself right now. I thought, since you're here, I'm going to ask you, what can I do to avoid that kind of confusion? I feel like I should just trust my intuition, but sometimes I get scared to do that because I go, well, I'm the one who kind of put me in this place of dis-ease. So what should I do? I'm just curious. I'm just gonna.
No, it's wellness. I call it wellness FOMO. Like, could there be a cure that I'm not willing to try? I'm going to try it because I don't want to miss out on that cure. I was doing it because I was researching. I was doing it because I could, and I was researching. I wanted to write a book. But at one point, I just said, no, I'm not seeing any more people, right? You could literally go down this rabbit hole forever, right? And sometimes you have to just stick with one thing. Like, I'm going to work on it through this. And even though it's so enticing when someone says, I have this new therapy, have you heard about it? And you want to just quickly go and try it and spend more money and spend more time investigating it. Sometimes you just have to say no and kind of reduce the amount of information coming into your head so you can focus on a few things that are working for you. That's what I did.
I like that. Like, keep it small, like just reduce, because it can be overwhelming because there are so many options right now. And I think especially that's one thing about social media is you have access to everything. I heard you say something about you got to do research when you're working with people. Have you ever had a weird experience with a healer that, what's that?
You know this. You know that story. So yes, I believe that wellness is incredibly seductive in the sense of you can be seduced into bliss. Like someone offers you bliss, you want it.
I'm like,
yes. When you're feeling sick and someone's like, I have a solution, you're like, yes, please, can I have a solution? But not everyone in wellness is good intention. Because you say spiritual or well, there's a real practical side to this. And I learned this a number of times. So of the hundreds of people that I've seen, some were true masters and had energy, and some were people that positioned themselves as wellness people to make money or take money. And I think the story that I tell sometimes is I was saying yes to everyone. Someone's like, there was a shaman in town who is working magic. It's really hard to get him, so you have to do some weird things. So it's like, all right, fine, I'll go. They're like, bring $200 in cash and a pack of Marlboro cigarettes, and here's the address. And I was like, all right, I've done weirder stuff than that. So I find myself in this East Village of New York City in the most rundown building ever, like walking with my broken body up 6 flights of stairs to the top apartment. And I'm pulling on the railing The railing literally comes off in my hand. I stumble down a couple steps. I make it all the way up, and he has a translator there who tells me, come on in, take off all your clothes and lay down on this mat. And the mat looked like it was pretty dirty in there. And I was like, take off all my clothes? Did I understand that right? And she's like, yes. So I did it. I did it. So now I'm laying face down naked while this guy's blowing Marlboro cigarettes across my body and beating me with a burning sage tree. So I just started laughing uncontrollably of the situation I had just gotten myself into. I had to find the humor in it because it was so bizarre that I was going through such lengths just to find that person that could heal me, that I started laughing. And of course they thought that was the cure. That was like me dispelling the negative energy. And perhaps I was. Maybe it wasn't in the intention, but that definitely gave me some levity. And I left there wrapped in newspaper under my clothes so I didn't let out the good energy as he instructed. But I would never do it again. But
you left there wrapped in newspaper?
Yeah, he had me wrap myself in newspaper and then put my clothes back on. And I wasn't to remove the newspaper or shower for 2 days. So I went to work like that. Crinkling every time I walked. And, it didn't work. Needless to say, I wasn't cured, but it was definitely, enlightening on, you have to be careful as well. You have to be prudent.
Yeah. Wait, that might be the best story I've heard, and I've experienced some very odd things. So I think you win because that's pretty incredible.
All right, that's an award.
And I do love the levity of it all. I mean, I think that laughter is good medicine, and sometimes you do need those, like as you've said in your TED Talk, perfect place, perfect time, right? And it's sort of like that was a perfect place, perfect time moment for you to remember, okay, wait, maybe I don't need to go see every single healer, and maybe the newspaper thing isn't quite what I'm looking for, and maybe I need to trust myself a little bit more.
Yes.
But to talk more seriously about, when you have chronic illness and when you have mystery illnesses, right, which is a lot of what autoimmune diseases are and what yours is. Like, I know we talked earlier and you told me that you still don't quite know exactly what it was, right? You were never given a full diagnosis, right? And a lot of people are dealing with that. And I think a lot more people are going to be dealing with that as we go through this pandemic, and there's long COVID, and which is basically a mystery illness. And so those of us who have kind of already experienced mystery illnesses for a long time can kind of help those who are now new to the game and the lifestyle of what it's like to live with things that doctors cannot quite diagnose. I remember that in reading your book, The Stimulati Experience, 9 Skills for Getting Past Pain, Setbacks, and Trauma to Ignite Health and Happiness, your best-selling book, which is incredible and really inspiring, and what I like about it is it's written in your voice, which is a masculine voice. And this is a voice we don't often hear in the world of autoimmune disease. There's not a lot of people out there who speak openly about this. You talked about hating yourself, and that you got to the place where you were in gratitude for your chronic illness. Now that's quite a journey. How did you get from, first of all, thank you for saying you hated yourself, because I think you gave me permission to honor the feelings within myself and everybody else who read your book. And that's a big part of this process. It's okay to feel those feelings, but I love that you take us and you give us tools to get to the other side. So what was that process like for you?
It's first you have to recognize that, oh my God, I really dislike myself. I hate myself. I'm not being good to myself, right? Because a lot of us do. And we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, And it even goes beyond that to like really, cultivating low self-esteem and just being like, I didn't realize that I was disdained for who I was. And it's a real question about how do you get beyond that? And one is awareness. You got to have to recognize that that's what I'm doing to myself. That's how I feel about myself. Now, how can I feel better about it? And a lot of it is kind of having some grace with yourself, finding the things that you actually like about yourself, and interrupting the negative talk when you're doing it, and like literally asking, would I say this to my, but also it's about doing what the things that you say that you'll do to build self-esteem. So oftentimes when we make we begin to really dislike ourselves, or feel not good enough, or just completely inadequate when we say we're going to try to lose weight or try to exercise or be nicer to ourselves, and then we don't do it. So oftentimes,
Yeah.
just making small steps and doing what we'll say we'll do will increase your self-esteem amazingly. And in fact, in the 4 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Braden, he talks about this. And he talks about, like, how do you rapidly, because liking yourself is really just your self-esteem. So how do you actually raise your self-esteem? And oftentimes it's by living in integrity and doing the things that you'll say you'll do, and then having a little bit of grace with yourself in terms of what you think that you're faltering on. And then there's all sorts of, if you want to get into the metaphysical, you can create a fire burning ceremony, you could change your energy, you can do all the fun stuff, but there are really practical things to it.
I love that you have all the tools. Those are all the things that I like keep in my back pocket. Like, there's the honoring your word. I mean, you could also read the 4 agreements, right? I mean, I think he talks about having integrity with your word. And I think that's also a way to have self-esteem. And what I'm learning more and more in this world of wellness and health, basically everyone, we're all saying the same thing, just in a slightly different way. And this is what I find so fascinating about what you do, because you are head coach and head of business at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And you guys create health coaches. And I think this is what the world needs, because I think people are understanding that health is not just, I mean, I believe it's a right, a God-given, natural-born right to have wellness. But I think what we weren't taught as children is that it takes effort and attention and awareness. And I think people are starting to discover this now after 2 years of living with a pandemic. Blew our minds, right? I thought we were indestructible, right? Now we realize how vulnerable we are as people. And what's amazing is now I'm so excited to share what you do, because I think people are going to be much more in need of health coaches. So could you explain a little bit about your school and the health coaches? And do you think that there's going to be a boom in need for health coaching?
Oh, there already is. I mean, health coaching is one of the fastest growing professions there is. Coaches in general, you can see a lot, but in terms of coaching, health coaches are one of the fastest growing professions. So right now, the American Medical Association is in CPT codes. That's when you work with insurance, you have a CPT code to get reimbursed by. And health coaching is under review for that, and should be reimbursed as an insurance, as a health benefit for insurance within a year. So when that happened with chiropractic and acupuncture and massage, those professions boomed as well. And that's kind of what's happening with coaching right now. It's become very mainstream. There's thousands of new coaches because there's millions of people that need it. And what coaches do is they really serve as the guide. When you get 6 minutes with your doctor, and like we said, we have a tidal wave of wellness opportunities to do, the coach is really the guide that helps you with a plan and then helps you in next steps. What do I buy in the grocery store? You know, there's 13 different gluten-free options. Which one should I, or where do I go? Should I do red light therapy for this, or cryotherapy? Or, you know, should I be a vegan or paleo or keto or vegetarian? And a health coach is really there to guide you. And we, as a school, for the last 30 years, have been training the best health coaches. So the training is not just about food. There's a lot of schools that kind of have a functional nutrition training, but we train you about the mental, emotional, and career purpose relationship aspects of your mindset, so that you're in a place where coaching people and eating better and following a healthy nutrition, what feeds your body, a lot easier. And we've pioneered that. And we've been
I saw.
Go ahead.
Oh, I lost. No, I was going to ask you, you guys talk about food. I've heard you speak about, when you were speaking about the school, about the foods as not just foods like foods that you put in your mouth, but as food, as all the different sorts of nutrition for living a life of wellness.
Yeah, everything feeds us, right? So your relationships feed you, your career feeds you, everything feeds her. So it starts with the primary foods, and then you can start to look at what foods are actually on your plate, that you're eating, that's giving you energy and turning into your blood. So we say food changes everything, and when we say food changes everything, we say, you know, if you're consuming energy, if you're in a relationship and it's feeding you in a healthy way, then that changes everything about you. And then when you get to food, it really does change everything. You know how you feel when you drink a cup of coffee versus a glass of wine. And the food that you eat literally turns into your blood and your cells, and it creates you. So there are two components. There's the mental, emotional, and there is the physical. And we focus on both.
I think that's really important, and I think this is what people are looking for right now, is really looking for real answers, and the real answers are it's multi-dimensional. It's not just one lane. It's not just food. It's your relationships, and I think that's really important, and I'm glad that you're sharing that. I want to go back real quickly, because this is one of the things that I was fascinated about with you and really wanted to talk to you about and have your voice heard, is as a man who went through what you went through, was it harder for you to be more open about it, about the struggle? And because men are expected to be strong. And I know that's like a very traditional thought and outdated, but I still feel it exists. And do you experience that? And have you experienced that?
Yeah, I have. It's opening up a little bit more, I think. I think there's like almost a renaissance of men being able to be vulnerable and to get out of this kind of protector provider paradigm. But when I was most like, I would actually tell people that I was in a motorcycle accident, and that's why I was walking with a limp. It had more of this macho. I didn't have to be vulnerable. No one would ask me like questions about my illness. I didn't have to talk about it, and it was this kind of it was this way of like being a macho man, instead of saying, well, this is what I'm really dealing with. This is how it's affecting me emotionally. But luckily, I feel like those things are changing a little bit. You have a lot of people on Instagram that are opening up and becoming more vulnerable men. But yeah, as a man that's expected to be the protector and provider, it was hard.
Well, thank you for being a path opener for people and opening the doors for people to talk. You were way ahead of your time. I also want to say now, in regards to your book and the Stimulati experience, you talk about people, you talk about your own trauma and how you got out of it. For somebody who's listening to this right now that might be experiencing and in a place of trauma or shutdown or fear and really struggling with their own health, do you have some takeaway tips that you could share with them?
Yeah, I would say, recognize the story that you're telling yourself, meaning oftentimes we get caught in trauma loops of the story that we're telling ourselves. And we think that we're caught in the movie instead of watching the movie, and that we can't change anything. And the first thing is change the way you're thinking in terms of your awareness of it. I mean, try to, when you feel yourself spiraling, pull yourself out of it by doing a number of things. First, by going for a walk, changing the state, talking to a friend, just moving so you're not going down those. I used to like take a shower and I wouldn't realize that the water had been beating on my back for 15 minutes because I had been, just obsessing over something. And now I can kind of click myself out of that. So it'll be like, oh, move, turn the water cold, get out of the shower. So that's first, identify and break the pattern. And the second thing is, there are so many resources into a group, a community. Like IAN is a community of people that like study together and work together and learn together. And you can do it all online, but you still have your groups and you have your phone calls and other things. Get into a community because it takes a village. It really does. And when you're in a great community, your relationships are everything. So those are two ways that I really love.
Yeah, relationship and community. That's been hard in the last couple of years. So it's nice. I feel like that opportunity is actually starting to open up again, and we're being able to connect with people. And even if we can't connect with people in person, as you said, there you have a course coming up, right? For the nutrition school.
Yeah, 100%. People can join. We have a course opening up now. So if anybody's interested in that, they should call. They should go to integrativenutrition.com. That's the best way. You can speak to a graduate who is also an admissions coach, and the course is opening. It's a really amazing experience that even if you don't want to be a health coach, it's so transformative for yourself. So most people do it because they want to start coaching themselves or their family or their friends, and then they realize, wow, I could really be I can be of service with this, and they become health coaches. But oftentimes it starts with just wanting to change their lives, and it starts now. Just you can call.
You can call, or you can go to the website, integrativenutrition.com, right? Is that what you're saying, to sign up? And there's a course in March, and there's also a course in April, right? Is there another course? Because you had told me about a course in April and that I will be doing, and I'm looking forward to signing up for that. And people can sign up for that as well?
Exactly right. There's another course that starts April 25th that Carrie will be doing. Carrie Ann, you could actually be in school together. So that's a fun one. Yeah. Imagine running into Carrie Ann on your coaching calls. Wouldn't that be amazing? So yeah, April 23rd is the next one. If you don't want to do March. So we have 9 starts a year. And so those are the next 2.
What I think is so wonderful about your school and what it's doing is that even if you don't want to become a health coach and you don't want to make it your profession, you learn how to do something that makes you a better person so that you can show up better in this world and in your own life, feel better about yourself. And then, as we've talked about, like, it's a ripple effect, right? It kind of just, like, once you're feeling good, your vibes spread, and then good, and then you feel good because you helped other people feel good, and then it just keeps getting better and better and better. Because I truly believe, like, I'm a bit of a science nerd too, mixed with all the so many things, but I believe that we're all energy, right? And obviously this is proven by science. And I also believe that religion is saying the same thing. We're all saying the same thing, that we're all connected. And so when we do things that help ourselves or help other people, we're helping everything. So I so love this contribution that you guys are putting into the world. Now, just on a lighter note, I just want to ask you, so I saw on your Instagram that you decided to take a social media break recently.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important? By the way, thanks for media talk, but I just want to say, why is that important for people? Because I think people do get overwhelmed, they go down rabbit holes, and how can they avoid that?
I'm creeping back on a little bit. It lasted a couple weeks. You know, I think that you really have to listen to yourself if you're going on and comparing, all the compare and despair that we talk about. If you're going on and comparing yourself against other people, and you're starting to feel bad about it, or you're like, you look up and you realize that you just spent an hour in your life, like, with your head down in Instagram, because that can go by so quickly. You've just been scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Now, if you're going to check out your ex-partner's partner, you know you need a break, right? If you're going down the rabbit hole of
guilty.
Yeah, totally. Totally. You're going to check out your ex's exes, then you know that you need a break. So
it's so true. When you know you're wrong, but then you keep going.
Yes. It's a drug. It's a delicious temptation, but sometimes you just have to step back and say, I need a little bit of a breather because this is getting intense. And it's all around how you're feeling, right? There's never been a time where I've looked at like a relationship which has ended and felt good about what I saw. And that's what a lot of people do, but also, or going to a friend's Instagram that may have more followers than you and feeling like you're not doing enough. And when you start to engage in those type of things, it's time for me to reset a little bit. It's time for me to reset because this is not making me feel good. And for me, it was, okay, I'm spending hours on this thing. It's like I should be in bed and it's 11:30 at night, and instead I'm scrolling through the next, like, fun song that someone's dancing to, and I'm like, I have like friends and family who I should be paying attention to. Not to say it's not great. Those things are
Yeah,
all
I mean,
wonderful.
I love looking for like health tips, and then I find out I'm watching somebody grow like tomatoes upside down in like a, I don't know. I find the weirdest things, and then I just get stuck. And then you're right, I feel bad, and then it's usually 2 a.m. So that's good advice. You are filled with great gems of advice, Jim. I'm so grateful that I was able to find you on Instagram, and I'm so grateful that you took this call from the stranger that was like, hey, hi, I know you don't know me, but would you mind doing an interview with me? And I appreciate that you were just okay, you know, with doing that. And I appreciate the way you give of yourself. And you've been so open about everything that you've been through. And I think sharing your story is so powerful. I know it inspired me, and I know it's going to inspire a lot of other people. So thank you for sharing today. And I look forward to seeing you at the classes that I'm going to be taking at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I'm looking forward to that in April. And just, you were talking earlier, is there an event coming up too? I just want to, you know, because I know people are going to get super excited about this talk and want to know everything about what's going on. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, guys, save the date for May 21st and 22nd in Miami. We are getting back, we are reconnecting in person in a beautiful space, and we're going to let all the details and tickets out soon. But save the date for May 21st and 22nd in Miami. We are going to get together in a very big way, So that's an exciting next step.
Yay, that's wonderful. And then I think, yeah, I think they're going to be excited to get together and be surrounded by all these people who are so well versed in wellness and how to take care of yourself. So everyone out there, if you want more information, you can go to integrativenutrition.com, and that's to get information about the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. This is Jim Curtis. He's been our wonderful, enlightening guest today. Thanks so much, Jim. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Bye.
He had so much information. You guys have no idea. I just want to read a little passage from his book. I wanted to do it while he was on, but I forgot. In his book, and some of you were asking for the name of it again, The Stimulati Experience, 9 Skills for Getting Past Pain, Setbacks, and Trauma to Ignite Health and Happiness by Jim Curtis. He says on page 113, I realize that everybody has a story, and people are in different parts of their story. No matter where they were, their story became a great catalyst for me to get to the place of thinking, if they can do it, so can I. And he goes on to say, being with other people and being infused with the inspiration of personal stories, I felt more hopeful and ready to overcome the obstacles in my life. This is something that is so inspiring, and it is the reason why I'm doing Carrie Ann Conversations as well. And I don't know if any of you have heard of this gentleman. Isaac Boots is his name on Instagram, and it's Isaac Calpito. He is the creator of Torched, and over the pandemic, his business boomed because he kept giving free workouts throughout the whole pandemic. And we're gonna do a mini Torched workout. So get ready, put on your little leggings, put on your sweatpants, put on whatever you can, get your little yoga mats out. We're gonna work out, guys, all right? So I look forward to seeing you next week. Stay well and be kind to yourself. All right, lots of love, and thank you for joining me today. And if you guys have any thoughts about what we talked about, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Give your comments. Did anything resonate with you? Do you have any more questions? Do you have answers? Share them all, please. We'd love to hear from you. All right, thank you all, and take care. Mwah.